Good morning. It is the week of June 25th. The last few days it's gotten pretty hot, so things are really starting to bust out. Over here beside my greenhouse is my sentimental rose. A few weeds have popped up around it. I need to get that cleared away, and it's doing gorgeous. And that rose there in that bucket, that is Kirsten Poulsen. It's a vintage rose and it just blooms nonstop all summer, so it's a great one to have. It's a single rose, not a double. And in this barrel here, let me get closer for you. This is some red geraniums, and here's one down here where I showed you on a previous blog post how to take cuttings from geraniums, and that's the cutting I took from the parent plant there in the larger. Down here, I have Heavenly Blue Morning Glories coming up. They're a beautiful blue, and they are getting started. I had some in here earlier, and the blue jays ate them, so I had to start over. Over here in the veggie patch, which is just in front of the chicken house, chicken pen. Still haven't fixed that window. I'm going to get to it. But down here is some sugar snap peas. Again, I had a whole row of them there, but the blue jays and the raccoons and the skunks got to them. So trying to garden with critters is a challenge. But we've had a couple salads with our fresh sugar snap peas, and they are yummy. And I reseeded, so I should be getting more soon. And this is one of my delphiniums I grew from seed. I didn't stake it soon enough, and it kind of bent over. You can see how it's bending, but that's okay. I won't try to straighten it because that'll snap that off, but I will cut that back soon once it's done getting closer to seed, and then more shoots will bloom from it. My obelisk arbor, I hung a potted plant up there. Let me see. My blueberries, I need to get them moved because that's too hot of a spot right now. And that tomato over there in the cage already has a couple tomatoes on it. That's an early girl. I always grow an early girl, so I get some tomatoes before September that are ripe and tasty. They're not as flavorful as the heirlooms, but when you're craving a fresh from the garden tomato, they're wonderful. The bees, here's the bees on the poppies. They absolutely loved them. I tried to get out here early enough that it wasn't hazardous to walk amongst them. Not that they're vicious bees, these look like honeybees, but if you walk by a lower bloom with your pants, they will fly up your pant leg and sting you because they're trying to get out and you made them mad. This is one of those white ground cover roses. This thing is tougher than nails. Though my other roses have been attacked by a beetle, these they haven't bothered with. Now this spot is kind of not a great spot for this. I am going to move this next fall. I'm going to put it on my back. I'm going to put this on the back hillside that's on the below my garden wall, and it is bare and it needs something tough to grow along it. I have some roses out there too, and that I didn't have room for in my garden. Most of my iris are done, so it's time to cut back the stems and see which ones I need to divide out. I have to compare it to photographs I have so I know what color is where, because you forget. You'd be surprised how you forget where things are when they're not in bloom. So there's overall of my back garden at the moment. Now this is beside my studio, my bench there. I have something that came back from last year. Let me get closer and I'll show you. We are beside my bench, beside the studio cottage, and down there right in the center, that is a balsam impatiens seedling. And I had quite a few growing here last year. They like the shadier areas. So now I have more seed I'm going to put here. I need to amend the soil, and I'll toss the seeds out here and keep it watered, and I will get more. So as we go along the studio, in front of the studio, this is the side garden. I've pulled out the foxgloves along here that are done. This right here, this tall growing thing, that is monkshood. And at the base is pistachio clematis climbing up there. And these iris need to be thinned out. Looks like this one's going to put on one more bud. My Warsaw Nike clematis. These roses right here, this is my Crown Princess Margareta. I've been cutting off the blooms that were attacked by the beetle. And behind it and around it is the Black Barlow Columbine. I need to pull those out. So some weeding I need to get done in here and clearing. So another clematis that is really pretty. This is a double. Let me get up here. And I had to pull a rose out here. I was afraid I had damaged the roots of this, but I didn't. But you see that up there. My Jubilee Celebration David Austin rose. It's doing okay. I mean, it also had the beetle damage. You can see how that rose is kind of wonky. So I need to cut that off so it can rebloom. I think I'm getting on top of the beetles. I need to find something that I can spray to keep them really at bay. I did spray with the neem oil and I thought it had worked, and then all of a sudden I had a new flush of beetles. My Nearly Wild Rose, I need to cut that back really hard. And my Abraham Darby is kind of struggling, so I need to cut it back hard, weed around it, and really mulch it with some rich compost, and hopefully it'll recover. Oh, here, I want to show you for sure. Look at this. This is my Bosco Bell David Austin rose. I absolutely love it. I love the shape of it. You can see that one kind of got zapped with the heat, but they're so pretty. I've been cutting them, so I'm bringing them in the house so I can really enjoy them. Back there is my Roseanne hardy geranium. All my daisies are about ready to bloom. Now I keep the daisies around the roses. For some reason, the deer won't go past those daisies to eat the roses. Now they may come around here and down the path, but so far we've had good success in keeping them at bay by planting plants around them that they don't enjoy. So, and I have here is some black-eyed Susans. They also don't enjoy the black-eyed Susans. So if I surround, like I said, my rose with flowers they don't like, they don't seem to bother my roses. Here is my trumpet vine. It's getting bigger. I need to tie up the edges or vines that are kind of going wild. See that some's coming down. If they touch the ground, they'll root, and I don't want them outside of these barrels. More daisies. I had put some of my pumpkins in the compost pile, but I haven't kept it well watered, so I need to get on top of that, put a hose on it, let it drip. And you see along my front garden, one moment, let me get up there. It's about this time of year here in the front garden especially, well, in the side garden too, that the colors change from the blues and purples and pinks to more yellows. Here is Coreopsis, very tough plant, will keep blooming as long as I keep deadheading. I can already see some seed heads forming. I need to get out here and deadhead. This is a Gaillardia. This is Oranges and Lemons. It's a real pretty bright yellow, and it also will keep blooming all summer as long as I keep it deadheaded. This is Elke. This is a hardy geranium, and I need to get it watered. It looks like it's struggling a little bit. My soakers through here have been starting to fail. They're old, so I need to replace them because they conserve water but can keep this area well watered. And you can see my Monarda there, Bee Balm. Those are a pretty bright red. I have a purple one this year in the back, and I can't wait to see how it does. And the lupins, I need to hurry up and cut them back, because if they go to seed, they just start coming up everywhere. They really do like it in our climate. So I have a rose in there, Europeana, and I need to get in there and help it along by pulling away some of the plants now around the base of it, so it can not have to struggle by fighting. Here is another. That is Roseanne Hardy geranium. You see how tall it gets? It's taller than the fire hydrant. Another one of those white ground cover roses. I stick them in wherever I need some good hardy cover. And this is a daylily. I've never been a fan of daylilies, and I've just recently taken a liking to them, and a friend gave me some. So again, I need to pull plants away from around it so that it can shine. Now down here, look at down here. This is another one of those white roses, and it's not connected to the mother plant. So it touched the ground, rooted there of its own volition, and now I have another one. I'll soak that good and dig it up, and I'll place it somewhere else. My Asiatic lilies are doing really good. They're starting to bloom. I have these in, seems like only the orange is coming up or opening right now, but I have some yellow, pink. Uh-oh, looks like I got in here and launched one. I had to get in there to do something, and I think I might have broken that off. I got phlox coming up right there. Oh, right there. See those ones? Those are, I think, are white Asiatic lilies. And here is my Eden rose growing over the arbor. This too had been attacked by that beetle, but it seems like it's coming out of it. Maybe they moved on. My Graham Thomas David Austin rose. That one turned out pretty. Got just a few beetle holes in it. That one down there is done. And this is a cherry tree that keeps trying to come up in my flower bed. I keep cutting it back. I can't dig it out because it's right next to the roots of this rose, so I was afraid I would damage this rose. But I am getting ready to take these all out here to get this wall fixed. So a little bit at a time, I'm getting these things done. And there's my Darcy Bucelle David Austin rose. This one is my LD Braithwaite, and it usually has bloomed or is blooming by now, and there's only 1 or 2 buds on it, so I need to really feed it and get it some good water and figure out why it's not doing as well as it usually does. Here is a bunch of my dahlias. Some of them are recovering from I don't know what when I planted them here, and they're starting to thrive. I think it might have gotten too cold a few days after I had planted them. It had been warm, and it was well past our frost date, and then one night it dropped to like 27 degrees, and they really didn't like that, though it didn't frost, so I guess that was one saving grace. But now that it's warmed up, they really seem to be taking off. One of my last irises to bloom. I just love this one with the orange tongue or beard in there. And here is, I want to show you it, that this is one rose. I think I showed you last week, but maybe I should get way back from it. But all along that wall is that white climbing rose, and I like how it cascades down over the wall. And up against the porch is my Bobo hydrangeas and peonies in there. And those clematis, one there and one there, and I had deadheaded them because they had got done blooming, and now they've put on a couple more blooms. And my rose down there. That's my Candyland rose. It's really pretty and blooms like crazy right there.